Welcome to the Swazzle Puppet Studio. I'm Sean.
And I'm Patrick.
In our last episode, we showed you how to make a puppet mouth palette.
In this episode, we'll show you how to custom dye puppet fleece.
Let's get started!
Now that we've built our final puppet body and head, it's time to heat up the dye bath and dye up a yard of puppet fleece. For this step, you'll need 1 yard of white puppet fleece, 2 tubs, one filled with cold water, heat-resistant gloves, powdered or liquid dye, measuring spoons, a large pot filled with hot water, we use a lobster pot, a large mixing spoon, and kitchen tongs. You'll also need a hot plate or stove top, sink for rinsing the material, a wringer, and a drying rack or a dryer. This process involves close contact with hot surfaces and hot water. Please use caution when dyeing fabric and follow all manufacturer's safety guidelines. Start by setting the large pot on your hot plate or stove top. Fill the large pot with water. It should be about 2/3 of the way full. Turn your hot plate up to high and put the lid on the pot so the water will heat faster. Wait for the water to heat up. You want it to be just at the boiling point. While the water is heating up, fill one of the tubs with cold water. Soak the white fleece in the tub of cold water.
You always want to add wet material to your dye bath. If you put dry material in your dye bath, it will dye unevenly and turn out splotchy.
Select your dye color. We prefer to use powdered dye as opposed to liquid dye. It's easier to measure, it lasts longer, and it takes up less space on the shelf. Scoop out a small amount of dye.
Start with a small amount of dye and work up to your color slowly. You can always add more dye to get a richer color, but you can't take it away.
Add the dye to the pot of hot water. Mix the dye bath with the large spoon. Carefully place the soaking wet puppet fleece in the heated dye bath. Once the fleece is in the pot, stir it around with the large spoon. It's important to keep that fleece moving so that it dyes evenly. Use the kitchen tongs to continually check the fleece color. The length of time you leave the material in the dye bath will vary, depending upon how light or dark you want the final color to be. Once the desired color is achieved, take the material from the dye bath and set it in the tub of cold water. This will help set the dye. Move the tub with the fleece to the sink and give the fleece a good rinse with cold water. Place the clean tub on the other side of the clothing wringer. This will give your material a clean place to fall. Run the wet fleece through the clothing wringer. You can do this 2 or 3 times to get out as much water as possible. Compare the fleece color to the puppet design. Hang the fleece on the rack to dry, or throw it in the dryer. Now your puppet fleece is custom dyed and ready to use.
In our next episode, we'll show you how to use fabric draping to make patterns for your puppet fleece. Be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss a single step.
And we'll see you next time in the Swazzle Puppet Studio. Goodbye!